What's up, scones? Today on Fennel Rye, we'll be making chocolate chip cookies with sea salt. These cookies are chewy, have the perfect balance of sweetness and saltiness, and are great as an afternoon snack or dessert. The recipe I'm using was created by Jacques Torres, and I got it from the New York Times. As for the special instructions, you will need bread flour and cake flour to achieve the soft yet chewy texture. You will also need to make these at least a day in advance so that the dough can rest overnight, which gives it a better flavor and lets the gluten relax. Now let's get started. The first step is to weigh your flour into a medium bowl. As usual, I am using a kitchen scale to measure ingredients by weight. This ensures consistent results every time, and it's more accurate than using measuring cups, especially for ingredients that can be packed like flour and brown sugar. Next, add in your baking soda and baking powder, which will help the cookies rise, and your coarse salt. If you don't have coarse salt, you can use kosher salt, but don't add quite as much because the grains are smaller. Then whisk everything together so that everything is evenly incorporated, and set this bowl off to the side. After that, measure out the sugar. This recipe uses white granulated sugar and brown sugar, so the cookies are rich and chewy but not too dense. You don't need to whisk this because we'll add it to the stand mixer soon. Put your butter in the stand mixer and beat it for 30 seconds to a minute so it's slightly fluffier. Here we are using room temperature butter and eggs. It's important that all of your ingredients are at about the same temperature unless otherwise specified. If your butter is too cold, it won't mix evenly with the sugar and it won't trap enough air to become light and fluffy, which is essential if you want a good texture. Then add the sugar and cream it until it's light and fluffy, which takes about 5 minutes, scraping down the sides with a rubber spatula every so often. However, if it takes a little longer or shorter, don't worry. Lots of factors can influence how long it takes, and it's better to go by looks and texture than the time, which is just a loose guideline. Next, add your eggs in one at a time, scraping down the bowl in between. Then add your vanilla extract, beat until combined, and pour in the dry ingredients. stir this for 10 seconds maximum so that the gluten doesn't develop too much, which makes your cookies tough and rubbery. Fold in some dark chocolate. You can use whatever kind and amount you want, but I recommend using Valrhona fèves. And once it's evenly combined, cover the mixture with plastic wrap or put it into an airtight container and let it rest for 24 to 36 hours. After your dough has rested, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and measure out 3.5 ounce scoops of dough. This recipe makes a lot of cookies, so I usually do 6 of these scoops at a time. Once you've measured out a scoop of dough, place it on a baking sheet. It's important to line it with parchment paper or silpat so that the cookies don't stick. Generally, I like to use silpat or other reusable silicone baking sheets because they never stick, they come in lots of common sizes, and they're reusable so you don't have to waste lots of parchment paper. However, if you don't have silicone baking sheets, parchment paper is a good alternative. A baking sheet can usually fit up to 6 of these cookies, but no more because they tend to spread out. After you've placed the desired number of scoops of dough and sprinkled them with a little sea salt, put the baking sheet into the preheated oven on the middle rack and bake them for about 17 minutes. When they're ready, they will be golden brown around the edges, but still slightly soft in the middle. Let the cookies cool on the baking sheet for 5 to 7 minutes, then move them to a parchment-lined cooling rack with a spatula. After transferring the cookies to the cooling rack and letting them sit for a few minutes, you can eat these right away or wait until they've completely cooled. These cookies are usually good for up to 2 or 3 days before they get stale, but if you're anything like me, they'll be gone in a few hours. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you try any of these recipes, tag me and the creator on Instagram at Fennel Rye and Jacques Torres.